So what's your morning routine when you walk into the barbershop in the morning? Believe it or not, there's actually some things you can do to set yourself up to make more money as a barber when you first get to the barbershop. So in this video, I'm going to cover all the things that go through my mind when I first get to the barbershop so that we can spot potential problems and we can also look for opportunities to make more money as a barbershop. So if you want to make more money as a barber, I'm going to go over 11 things that you can do to start going through in the morning, checking your schedule so that you can make more money as a barber. So I'm going to take you on the computer and we're going to go through each step. Alright, so this is our agenda for this video. We're going to cover these 11 things and I'm going to go through and explain each point. Some of them are going to be really quick. So let's start with the first one, which I think is the most important. So spotting potential issues, that's the category we're going to start with. And first thing we're going to look for is unconfirmed appointments. So I got my schedule or our appointment book for tomorrow set up already. So that's what we're looking right now. See, today is Saturday the 15th. This is Sunday the 16th that we're showing right here, right? So the first thing that I'm seeing is a lot of orange, right? Which in this case is not good, right? Because the way our system is set up, and we use Zenoti, it asks clients to confirm their appointments. So they're going to get a text message that asks them to confirm. And when they respond to that text message with the letter C, it automatically confirms their appointment and it turns it from this orange color to green. So we know that anybody that's in green has confirmed, and that all that means is they're saying yes, they're going to show up. That doesn't mean they show up, but that just, it increases the likelihood, right? Nothing you can do is going to 100% guarantee that people show up. So the first potential issue that I'm seeing is that we have a ton of unconfirmed appointments. So the good thing is that we can actually just in one shot text everybody at once through our system and ask them to confirm again. But one thing the first thing I think you should be doing is trying to confirm every single appointment on your schedule. And we do this automatically. We send 3 reminders with every single appointment. So we send a 1-week reminder, we send a 24-hour reminder, and then we also send a 2-hour reminder. So 1 week, 24-hour, 2 hours. So if they don't respond to any of those, actually this is what we do. We actually started doing a 4th one. But the 4th one is optional. So they're going to get the 1 week every single time. They're going to get the 24-hour one. And then what we usually do is by the time we get to either, we've been experimenting with this, but we'll either do it the day before or the morning of. If we see a bunch of unconfirmed appointments on the schedule, we've been testing this. Some barbers have been saying that they had better results the night before sending out a confirm message. Some do it the morning of, but either way, anybody that doesn't confirm their appointment should be getting another text message saying basically something along the lines of, hey, are you still planning on coming in? Short, simple, and sweet. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And if they don't confirm to that one thing we're going to start experimenting with is picking up the phone and calling them, right? Because when we text people, a lot of times it's coming from the same phone number that they get their reminders from, and they might think that it's automated, so they just start ignoring it, which is fair. Most of them are automated, but sometimes we are like actually from a human texting them, asking them to confirm, like, are you coming in? And they don't respond. So if that's the case, then you take it a step further, I think, and you pick up the phone and call them. And if they don't answer your phone call or call you back or respond to your message, then what we might start experimenting with soon is actually double booking people. So especially if it's somebody that has a history of no-shows, because you can easily see that in our system. If somebody has no-showed in the past, the likelihood that they actually show up, if they don't confirm and if they have a history of no-showing, is a little bit less. So we might actually start double booking people in the near future if there's somebody that has a history of no-shows, right? And then you just teach your clients, right? Because some of them might start to complain like, man, you guys send so many reminders. I'm like, yeah, well, you won't get that other one if you just confirm your appointment. So a lot of these things that you can get ahead of it by like teaching your clients, right? So that's the first thing, is we're looking for unconfirmed appointments. This is probably the biggest opportunity to prevent no-shows. we've experimented with doing cards on file and charging deposits, but nothing else that we've tried has been more effective than just, hey, are you still planning on coming in, right? Whether it's a text message, a phone call, whatever, right? And I think the more reminders, the better. In our case right now, the 1 week reminder, the 24-hour, and the 2-hour reminder are working really well. And if they don't confirm, then they get another message from us or even a phone call. We're just trying to make sure, hey, are you still planning on coming in? Because if not, let's cancel this so we can open it up for somebody else to book. And if they don't respond, then we may start just double booking people, right? And if somebody, like, the cool thing about what we use here is that if somebody has a history of no-shows, then I'll just go in there. We can go in there and just start blocking people from booking online. So if somebody no-shows like more than like twice, I would say, we're probably just going to start blocking them from booking appointments. So we'll still book them an appointment in the future, but you know, you're going to have to call, right? Because we're not going to just let you like abuse our schedule like that. So that's the first thing. And then we're also looking for, so that's unconfirmed appointments. We're also now looking for no-show clients. So our system, Zanati, will actually put a symbol next to somebody's name if they have a recent like no-show. So I don't actually see any on the schedule today or for tomorrow. We can look at today's schedule to see if there was somebody on here that has that symbol. Okay, so this client right here, Kirk, has that symbol right here, which means that he has had a no-show recently, right? So that's a little bit of a red flag. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to show up, but it's just one of those things, like, be mindful of that. Like, if this person has no-showed in the past, like this, there's another one here, Christopher. So he's no-showed. So that means that we just want to make sure we're definitely reaching out to this person to see if they're going to plan on coming in, right? So that's another thing. So you're looking out for no-shows, people with a history of no-shows. And you're also, then this is something that's very specific to us, but if I'm looking at the schedule, if you offer memberships, especially if you use like this system, you can look for appointments like that have this symbol here, that black symbol. That means that, so like Frank, he has a suspended membership. So I already know that he's going to have issues when he goes to pay because his membership's not going to work. So if we can get ahead of that and maybe call him ahead of time and say, hey, do you want to get that payment fixed for your membership? So that way there's no issues with the checkout later. So that's very specific to us or for really anybody that has a membership program. If your system lets you know in advance these things, then you can get ahead of that. So that's the first thing. So the next thing will be if you are overbooked or have overlapping appointments, which I don't see that happening except here in the morning we have. So this would be like an example of like somebody who's overbooked, because if you look at the top, like our system tracks utilization, and 100% would be zero like white space in the schedule. So like some of these barbers are more than 100% booked for tomorrow, which some of them can handle that. Some of that's fine. You know, like some barbers are very, very efficient. They can squeeze in people in between, or they can shorten their appointment times. They can overlap appointments because they know this guy doesn't take me an hour. I can do it in 45 minutes, so I can kind of put somebody else there. But it's just something to be mindful of because sometimes accidents do happen, or sometimes, you know, you're in the middle of booking an appointment and then somebody books online at the same time and you end up double booked. So if you see those things, then you want to check with that barber if you're doing this for them, or check with your own schedule. Like, does this make sense? Are you going to be able to still do that? If not, we need to let the barber know. We need to let the client know and try to get them to reschedule for a different time. So another thing that we're going to look for, number 3, will be duplicate appointments, which I'm not seeing any on the schedule today, but I actually did see one earlier today. So I'll kind of show you what I did. So there was a guy that was booked earlier today at the end of the day. His name was Carlito, and he also had a history. See, he has that symbol, that no-show symbol, right? So I was very mindful to reach out to this guy because he also had an appointment booked at our other location, at our Riverside location. See? So I saw that and I was like, okay, it's unlikely that this person is going to be showing up at both locations at the exact same time. So I texted him And I said, hey, we saw that you have 2 appointments. Which one do you plan on keeping, and which one would you like to cancel? And he responded that he wanted to keep the one at our Riverside location. So I went ahead and canceled the one at our Southside location. So I basically prevented half an hour wasted time on this barber schedule by just going ahead and like taking care of that for them. And you'd be surprised how many times that happens, because sometimes people book appointments, and especially if they're saying like, I'm getting a ton of reminders, it could be that they have more than one appointment and they don't even realize that. So look for duplicate appointments. In this case, it was across locations, but you also sometimes have cases of like, this guy has an appointment today, but he just came in like yesterday or 2 days ago or something like that, right? Because you might be rebooking people, and they might be booking their own appointment online because they forgot that they had an appointment already set up, or they forgot when it was because they didn't put it in their calendar. So you want to be mindful of that stuff, and it's impossible to always catch these things, but these are all like, really these are all opportunities, but this is a potential issue. I put it in this category because that's going to end up being just wasted time, right? If you find this out too late, like if you find it out right when that appointment's supposed to show up, it's like, he's definitely going to no-show, right? Or he's going to cancel last minute. And that's something that you could have did in the morning. You could have got ahead of that. And then if you're working as part of a team, number 4 here would be, if anybody called out sick, then obviously we need to try to start to move all of those appointments, right? And what I usually do, some of y'all might not agree with me on this, but what I usually do, especially if it's like the people that are booked in the morning, I will just kind of slide them over to another barber schedule at the same time, if there's another barber that had availability. There's sometimes like tomorrow where we don't have a lot of openings left. We are 88% booked for the day, so that's pretty busy, and I expect that by the time we get to actually opening up tomorrow, this day is probably going to be pretty full, right? So there's only like 5 spots left for tomorrow. So if somebody calls out tomorrow, probably not going to be able to move a lot of these appointments. We're probably going to have to cancel a lot of them. But I've just learned from personal experience that it's usually not a good idea to cancel appointments if there's another barber available that can take that person, even if it's a request, right? So we'll just put a note, right? And we can let the clients know ahead of time, and then they can choose if they want to cancel or not. But what we usually do is just slide them over to any barber that has an open spot, and then we text the client, like, hey, your appointment's been moved, your original barber called out sick, whatever. Let us know if you need to cancel. Like about half the people end up just keeping their appointment. So it's a great way to kind of save a lot of those appointments, because otherwise you just lose a ton of revenue as a barbershop owner if you just have to cancel everybody. Some people might be okay with going to somebody else, even though they might all be requests for that specific barber. You'd be surprised. A lot of them might be like, yeah, I need a haircut. I got something coming up, whatever. And so you can just slide them over to somebody else's schedule and still get the job done, right? All right, so those are kind of a lot of the potential issues that I look for when I first get to the shop, or when I'm first looking at the schedule for the morning. So the other thing that I think, this really depends on how your appointment timing is set up, but now we're going to talk about opportunities. We're going to talk about ways where you can actually do things on your schedule to make more money. So the first thing that I typically look for is gaps in the schedule. And this really depends on the timing of your services, because there was a time where all of our services were either half an hour or an hour. There was nothing in between. And the way I set up the schedule was they could only book on the hour or on the half hour. So they couldn't book at like 10:15, for example. And the beauty of doing the timing like that for the services is that you will not have gaps in your schedule. It's impossible if you think about it. If you can't book at 10:15 and the clients can't book on the 15-minute mark or the quarter hour mark, and all the services are half an hour or an hour, you're not going to have gaps in the schedule. It's possible to be like full, like your schedule is no white space at all. But we actually have some services now that are 45 minutes or 15 minutes. and we allow clients to book on the quarter hour as well as the half hour and the hour. So that is, just by having the schedule set up that way, is going to create some gaps in the schedule. And there's some times in the morning, if you're looking through this stuff, there are some times where you can see opportunities to free up time so that you can fit more appointments in. So I don't actually see any opportunities on the schedule for today, or I mean for tomorrow, because we do actually have some 15-minute services, so these little 15-minute gaps could open up. But what I typically do is I try to prioritize like 30-minute blocks, right? So if I wanted to here, like I could move the lunch break up like this to eliminate that little 15-minute gap, but I think that the schedule for tomorrow, as of right now, the way it looks, is fine, right? But there's other times where I can show you maybe a different day. So I'll show you tomorrow or Monday evening. So here's an example. This guy Alexander is booked at 5, right? And if I slid him down by 15 minutes, then that would free up time for a whole other haircut. So that's probably what I'm going to do, or what the barber that's scheduled for today, for that day, is going to do, because that's going to free up time for a whole other haircut. So this is the challenge with having your timing, doing the 15 and 45-minute services, is that it's going to naturally create gaps in your schedule. So you're going to have to be more diligent about closing these gaps, because otherwise all this white space is wasted time. So what I typically do is I typically slide appointments back by 15 minutes like this. I'll just go ahead and do it. And that doesn't tell the client. So the way I set up our system is that it doesn't tell the client if it's less than a 30-minute change. It doesn't actually tell the client that we moved their appointment. So what's going to happen is, if they show up at their original time, then they're going to end up being 15 minutes early, which is great. That's what we want, right? So there's really, you don't want to move appointments up, right? You don't want to move people 15 minutes earlier, because now they're going to be 15 minutes late. So typically it's a good idea to tell clients when you're changing their appointment time. But if you're just doing this quick throughout the day and you don't have time to text somebody or call somebody, you can't just slide somebody back by 15 minutes, and that frees up a whole 30-minute block for in this case a whole other haircut, right? So that I just increased our potential revenue for Monday by an additional $45, which is what we charge for a haircut, just by doing that simple change, which took me 5 seconds, right? So you could do this every single morning. If this is an issue that you have with your appointment book, you can go through the day and just move. It's kind of like Tetris. You can move appointments around to close as many of those white spaces as you can, because ideally, in a perfect world, we don't want any white space on our calendar. We want, just no white space at all. Really, it doesn't matter what your appointment color book is. You just want no white space, no gaps. So the next thing we're going to look at is, let's say you're having a slow day. Well, I actually have a whole other video on my YouTube channel that's all about slow days and what to do. You can look at it, find it, but there's 16 things on there that you can do. But the main thing is that if you are having a slow day, so let's say this day doesn't fill up, right? So you're looking at your schedule. You can look at the date like tomorrow. You can look at a few days from now, and you can start messaging people that are booked those days. Like this guy, Craig, is booked for Tuesday. Right now, this schedule is looking pretty light. So what we could do is we can reach out to Craig, who's booked on Tuesday, and see if he'd rather come in today instead. And we can do that with every single appointment that is on the schedule. And if you did that with enough people, some of them would end up moving, right? And because the theory that I'm operating on here is the longer we have to fill that time, the more likely it is to actually fill up. So I would rather pull an appointment forward from the future to give that future time more time to fill up. Now, sometimes it doesn't fill up, but also your day today might not fill up either, right? So we want to increase the likelihood that we're going to fill our schedule today, right? So the easiest way to do that I found is to reach out to people that are already booked and see if they want to come in today instead. Pretty simple, right? They're already planning on coming in. It's way easier than trying to get new clients. Another thing you can do, and all this is in the what to do on slow days video, which is on my YouTube channel. But you could also reach out to people you haven't seen in a while, right? The people that have already came in and see you, they're just overdue for a haircut. Start reaching out to them. Pick up the phone, call them, or text them. These are the things that you can do literally every single day, right? The next thing we can do, another thing we do if we're having a slow day is we can work on, let's say you can't get more clients on the schedule, but you have time, right? Because that's what we mean by slow, is like relative to the time available, there's some white space on your schedule. So we can focus on add-ons, right? So just because they have a haircut book doesn't mean that that's necessarily all they might want. So if you can't fill your schedule with more clients, what you could do to make more money is see if the clients that are coming in need anything else in terms of services. You can also sell them products, which is even easier way to make money because it doesn't involve selling your time. So doesn't matter how you do it. The mindset is, okay, I can't get more clients now. I've done the marketing. I've reached out to people that were booked in the future. I've tried to get people that haven't been in a while to come in. So that didn't work, or I'm still waiting on them to respond. But what can I do right now, today? Well, you can, anybody that's on your schedule booked already, see if they need anything else while they're there in terms of services, or try to sell them a product, right? Another thing you can do, and these are marketing things. I kind of skipped ahead to this one, marketing, right? So marketing would be reaching out to people that have already booked with you, that are already booked in the future, or reaching out to people that haven't been in a while. You could also reach out to no-shows and cancels for the last few days. You could role play with your team if there's any training you need to work on. You want to fix your tools. You want to practice new techniques. Slow days are a great day to do that. You don't want to do those on busy days, right? We all love buying new tools and testing new things, but I can tell you from personal experience, not a good idea to do those on busy days. It's just going to end up putting you behind. Save it for when you're try the new techniques on a slow day when you have plenty of time. So if it doesn't work, you have time to fix it and it doesn't put you way behind. So the next thing, the opposite end of the spectrum. So first scenario, we are slow. We got to focus on marketing essentially, or making better use of our time. But the other scenario would be what happens if we're fully booked or for short staffed, which is kind of the same thing. Like relative to the amount of clients coming in, we might not have enough barbers to service all of them. So on these days, if you're working as part of a team, it's really important to work together. So we take turns answering the phone. We don't have a receptionist, so we try to take turns answering the phone. We have also another location, so we also try to remind the team, like, just because we are busy doesn't necessarily mean we can't take care of them. Instead of saying, no, we don't have time for you, have the mindset, I like to have this mindset of like, what would it take? So what would it take to take care of this person today? We might not be able to take care of them, but our other location might have openings. So this is one of the benefits of having multiple locations, is if we end up fully booked tomorrow, which we probably will, the barbers should, when they answer the phone, should say, sorry, we're fully booked, but our other location might have some openings for tomorrow. And if that's true, let's look at tomorrow's schedule for the other location. Yeah, they're probably not going to have any openings for tomorrow, but let's say they did. Like that answers the question of what would it take to get this person in today, and that would be send them to the other location. Or tomorrow, what we could do is, because what's looking very likely right now is both locations are going to end up fully booked for the day, we actually have a wait list feature. So we can actually add people to our wait list. And the cool thing about this is the system now, this is a kind of a newer feature. So there's 3 people on there right now. But if somebody's on the wait list, it used to be that we had to reach out to them as soon as the spot opened up, which, by the way, is a great way to fill your schedule fast. If you have a last minute cancellation, have a wait list, even if it's not a fancy setup like this. But now our wait list is automated, so all we got to do is add somebody on there, and if somebody cancels and somebody's on the wait list, it will text that person and say, hey, a spot opened up. That just happened yesterday. I'll show you. I was working yesterday, and this client right here, Sterling, called, and I answered the phone earlier, and he was like, hey, I want to book an appointment. It was Valentine's Day, right? I want to book an appointment. We were booked at the time, like we had no openings, and I was like, sorry, we're fully booked, but if you want, I can put you on our wait list. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So I got his number, put him on our wait list, and then somebody canceled. Somebody here that was booked here at 6 canceled, and then the system texted him, and I think it gives him like an hour. So he responded and said, yes, I want that spot, and he got booked automatically. So this, even if you don't have an automated wait list, when somebody calls and you're fully booked, you can write down their name, which is what we used to do, and their number, and if somebody does cancel, you can fill that spot right away by looking at your wait list to see who's on here that tried to get in that at the time we didn't have a spot, but now we do. So let me hit that person up, right? If you have a receptionist, this is a great thing for them to do. So use a wait list if you get fully booked. Next thing, and also being on top of laundry, something that is really important when you're fully booked. So new clients. All right. So one thing that we do, which I strongly recommend because we've tested this and it works. When you have a new client booked on your schedule, which in our case, a new client is somebody that has a star next to their name. You see there's one right there. So what we typically do is we upgrade new clients on their first visit to premium haircut. So basically it gives more time and they get a shampoo. So what the idea is, like the theory that I had with doing this was, if we give the barbers more time with new clients, then the new clients may have a better experience and it might increase our new client retention. And it turned out that's exactly what happened. So if you have a new client booked on your schedule that you've never seen before, it might be a good idea to add a little bit of extra time so that you can give them the exact haircut they want. You can spend more time on the consultation, even if it means you're not charging them for the extra time. I've tested this, and in my case, it worked. So it might be worth it for you to think about giving new clients extra time. So in this case, we might end up upgrading this guy, Matt, to a premium so that he has a 45-minute service so that he can get the best haircut, he can get the great thorough consultation, and that should increase the likelihood that he actually ends up coming back. So definitely a good idea to look on your schedule to see if you have any new clients, and if you do, might be a good idea to add some extra time. So the next thing is, if you have a bunch of existing clients on the schedule, like in this case, I think there's 1, 2, 3 new clients on the schedule for tomorrow as of right now. Everybody else is an existing client. So that means that we try to be really good about taking notes on our clients. The reason why, because it gives a more consistent haircut. And if you have notes on your client, it's a good idea, I think, in the morning to go through and review their notes. There's a barber on my team that has the highest retention out of everybody in the entire company. She's retaining 91% as of the last time I looked of all of her clients. That's new and existing combined. 91%. So almost 100% of people come back. One of the things that she does every single morning is she goes through her entire schedule and writes down the notes for everybody, right? And she sticks it to her next to her station so that when the person comes in, she doesn't have to go and look at the computer every single time. So she does a lot more to retain people than that. But that's just something that it's a quick thing that it's a little bit of a time investment in the morning, but it ends up saving you time later in the day because you don't have to go check their notes every single time a new person comes in. You just look at the little thing you did. If your system allows you to print it out too, that's great. But if you have notes and on existing clients, look at their notes before they come in so that they get a more consistent haircut every single time, which ultimately is going to lead to you making more money because they're going to come back because they're happy with the haircut because it's coming out the same every single time. The next thing we're going to look at, the thing that I look for, is what I call an appointment swap. The way I define an appointment swap opportunity would be like if you have 2 appointments that are booked at the same time and neither one of those appointments are a request. So this is one of the ways you can keep the wait time down, right? Because if you have two appointments, two guys that are coming in at the same time, and neither one of them are a request, there's no reason that they have to wait, right? Nobody should have to wait unless they are requesting a specific person. That's my view on that, right? In our barbershop, we try to work as a team. So in the case where, let's say we have this guy Cameron booked at 2:30 and we have this guy Frank booked at 2. So this isn't exactly like at the same time, but I'm going to use this as an example. So let's say Mike has an appointment that comes in at 1:30 and he's starting to fall a little bit behind, right? And Frank shows up kind of early, and Mike's running behind. Hollywood, let's say this time doesn't fill in. So Frank doesn't have a preference on who takes care of him. He indicated that when he booked, because if he did specifically request a certain person, it would have this green stripe. That's the way our system is set up. All the appointments with a green stripe mean that they requested that specific barber. So in this case, we could know without even asking Frank that he doesn't care who cuts his hair, right? So there's no reason to make Frank wait if Mike or whoever is starting to run behind. So if Hollywood is available, what I would do if I was there is I would tell Hollywood, go ahead and take Frank, and then we're going to have Mike take Cameron off your schedule. So that's why I call it an appointment swap. You swap the one appointment with the other, and you keep the wait time down that way. Their clients don't care, and everybody wins, right? The barbers have to be really bought in on this, though, because a lot of barbers feel like kind of weird taking an appointment off the other barber's schedule. But you just have to, that's where the culture part of it's really important. And one thing I shared with the team a long time ago that I keep repeating because it's true is a long time ago I looked up a list of the clients that have been coming to us for a long time. And the number one thing that they had in common was that they have all been to more than one barber. So what that means is if you want to retain this client, and your barbershop owners especially, if you want to retain clients long term, you want them going to more than one barber. Because at some point, right, barbers get busy, hopefully, because they're retaining people, and they're not going to be able to see that same barber forever, right, unless they start to get better about booking appointments in advance. And not everybody is going to want to do that. So the only way you're going to be able to keep that client is if you have them start going to somebody else. So this is kind of a subtle way of starting to train that behavior. You can have just, okay, this guy was booked with this barber, but this barber's running behind. He doesn't care. He didn't request anybody anyways. So let's just have a different barber take care of him, and we'll just swap those appointments. Everybody wins, right? Another scenario where this might make sense to do would be, let's say Mike has a walk-in come in at like 1:45 or 1:50, like Frank's coming in at 2, right? So somebody comes in at 1:45 and wants a haircut and a beard trim or whatever, right? And let's say that Cameron cancels tomorrow. So Hollywood's got nothing going on at this time. So Mike could take that walk-in and give his appointment, Frank, to Hollywood. So this is just another way to eliminate wasted time and reduce the wait time, because there's no reason that we should have to turn away that walk-in because Frank doesn't care who he goes to, right? Mike can take that walk-in, Frank can go to Hollywood, everybody wins, right? Chairs keep spinning, right? An empty chair makes no money. That's the mindset you have to think, and they shouldn't have to wait if they don't have a specific request for a specific person, right? And even if they did indicate a specific request, so you can still ask them. Like I do that on my schedule all the time. Even if somebody says that they requested me, I will still ask them, do you have a preference on who takes care of you? And if they don't, I'll give my appointment to somebody else, right? Because I'd rather be doing something else. Anyways, and if my barbers aren't busy, I'll give them my appointments all day long. If the client doesn't specifically want me, then I'm not going to make them wait. Especially if there's another barber available that would be happy to take care of that person. So the last thing would be, number 11 would be whatever the focus is for this month. I just kind of added that one in there, but I think it's important to have the mindset, because like typically in our shop every single month we have like a new focus, a new thing that we're trying to push. Right now it's memberships. Next month might be reviews. Next month after that might be retail. But whatever it is, like you can make a plan in that day. So let's say it's retail. You can actually go in, like our system and some systems will actually let you see somebody's purchase history. So I can actually go in there and see and take notes on when was the last time this person bought a product. If it was a few months ago, chances are that they might be running low on it. So you can bring that up. How's that pomade working out for you? Or whatever the focus is, right? You can use your system, use the time in the morning when you get there to make a plan for whatever the focus is for that month. Whether it's memberships, whether it's retail, whether it's rebooking, whether it's whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can use this time in the morning to come up with a plan, a game plan of all the things that we talked about, and also whatever it is that you're trying to focus on this month. So these are the things that go through my mind through when I first get there, when I first look at the schedule for the first time. Even if I'm home, I'm going through these things in my mind. I'm looking for opportunities. I'm looking for potential issues. And if you do this every single morning, then you will make more money as a barber and as a barbershop owner. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. If you think that this stuff is helpful, I have a free group, if you are not in it already, where this is the kind of the questions that come up. It's called the Barber Mastermind. It's 100% free to join. The link's in my bio if you want to join it. I'll see you in the next video.